Good morning. My name is Patty Daniel. My Dharma name is wontempleNC. And I want to welcome you to a very special day of commemoration in the Won Buddhist calendar. Today marks the 103rd anniversary of the day that Master Sotaesan bestowed Dharma names on his first 9 disciples. And today is also the day when our friends Daniel Mattingly, Jen and Anthony Gadd will receive their Dharma names as well. Unfortunately, Jen and Anthony are not able to be with us here today in person due to a recent COVID exposure. So, what is this special Won Buddhist historical event? Well, sometimes we call it Dharma authentication, which is a reference to a recognition of Master Sotaesan's new order by the numinous realm. Sometimes we call it Dharma transformation, a reference to transforming ourselves from egoistic beings to altruistic beings. And sometimes we refer to it as the miracle of the blood seal. In Western cultures, it has been somewhat controversial, especially to those uncomfortable with the concept of miracles. So, here's a little bit of Won Buddhist history. After Master Sotaesan's enlightenment, he rather quickly gathered about him more than 40 followers, and he set about finding ways to support his new order. They formed a savings cooperative to encourage thrift and frugality. They started a charcoal business to create some funding. And they built an embankment to reclaim tidal land for rice farming. The embankment was arduous and difficult work through a hot summer and a cold winter. But approximately 25 acres of land were reclaimed. You can still visit those if you go to South Korea. Master Sotaesan chose 9 of his most faithful and sincere followers to be his first group of disciples. And after the embankment project was completed, he sent each of them to 9 mountaintops for prayer, confession, devotion. Devotion, in the words of Master Sotaesan, that was sincere enough to move the will of heaven. He asked them if they would be willing to sacrifice everything for the well-being of all sentient beings. Without hesitation, they all said yes. And as a sign of resolve, he ordered them to press their bare thumbs under their names as a signature on a sheet of white paper on which was written, "Sacrifice with no regret." Although they had used no ink, blood-red thumbprints emerged on the paper. Master Sotaesan took this as a sign of authentication of his new order, authentication from the numinous realm. And he told his disciples that they had truly consecrated themselves to the world. He then conferred Dharma names on each of the 9 disciples and said, "Receive and keep your name in honor and deliver numerous sentient beings." This date each year, August 21st, commemorates this event and is one of the most important days in the Won Buddhist calendar. Due to the miraculous nature of this event, there are some who would prefer to downplay the narrative of the blood seal for Western practitioners. As my friend Pete Warshaw, Wan Jiho, has said, without them, Won Buddhism would not exist, and Master Sotaesan would be a long-forgotten lone mystic. For me, the deep commitment and dedication of those first 9 disciples is a miracle. Miracles can be a foundation of faith and provide a guidepost for reaching out to all sentient beings. As Pete says, do I believe that the thumbprints turned blood red? It doesn't matter. What does matter is that one man became 10, And from this, Won Buddhism was formed.
Yongju Prayer Chant. Page 4. Let us read the meaning together. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth settles in my being. My spirit penetrates all things as my mind wills. Heaven and earth and I become one. I am one with the way of heaven and earth. When I contemplate the meaning of Yongju, I relate it to a Dharma message from Sotaesan, our founding teacher. He said, if your mind is concentrated and completely devoid of selfishness, your mind and heart become as one with the great virtue of heaven and earth. Each of your minds possesses has a responsibility to deliver all sentient beings away from suffering. Yongju 전지연기야 심정 만사요해야 심통 정지여와 동일체하여 정지동 심정 정지연기야 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 심정 만사요해야 심통 전지여와 동일체 아유 전지정신정 전지연기하심정 만사여외하심정 전지여와 동일체 아유 전지정신정 전지연기하심정 만사여외하심정 전지여와 동일체 아유 전지정신정 전지연기하심정 만사여외하심정 전지여와 동일체 아유 전지정신정. Palms together, hearts together for the prayerful self-transformation day. Grace of sky and earth, grace of parents, fellow beings and laws. O Dharma Kaya Buddha fourfold grace, today on August 21st, 2022, the annual observance of a historical moment in Won Buddhism. We celebrate the anniversary of self-transformation and dedication of Sotaesan's first 9 disciples. We honor the founding spirit of Won Buddhism, a willingness to dedicate ourselves fully, without any hesitation, to the Dharma and to all sentient beings. The world is in great crisis from climate change, a global pandemic, and domestic and international conflict. We human beings hurt each other because of our greed, anger, and delusion. May we deeply look into our attachments to self and habits of unmindful consumption. May we understand that we have the infinite capacity to be kind and harmonious regardless of our differences. May our egoistic selves be transformed with the threefold practice. May our flowers of selfless service blossom. Today, our community celebrates Jennifer Gad, Anthony Gad, and Daniel Mattingly, who are receiving their Dharma names. As our 3 friends receive their Dharma names with open and joyful hearts, we bless their spiritual rebirth and commitment. May Anthony, Jen, and Daniel be blessed and guided to embody the meaning of their names and attain Buddhahood. This we pray with one mind and one heart. Sutra chanting 일원상 vow in Korean and then in English. This sutra is the original unique chant in Won Buddhism from our founding teacher. Page 6, you're welcome to join us. 일원상 서원문 일원을 너라도 단의 입정처이요 유무초월을 생사무님 전지구 보동보공률의 공원이요 제불조사본부 중생의 성품으로 응이성유상하 무상으로 보면 상주불멸로 야야 자연하여 무량세계를 전개하여 무상으로 보면 우주의 성주괴공과 만물의 생로병사와 사생의 심신작용을 따라 육도로 변화를 시켜 혹은 진급으로 혹은 강국으로 혹은 생화해로 혹은 회생어운으로 이와 같이 무량세계를 전개하여나니 우리 어리석은 중생은 이 법신불의 원상을 제받아서 심신을 원만하게 수호하는 공부를 하며 또 인사리를 원만하게 하는 공부를 하며 또는 심신을 원만하게 사용하는 공부를 지성으로 하여 진급이 되고 은혜는 입을지언정 강급이 되고 해독은 있지 아니하기로서 이원의 위력을 얻도록 하지 사원하고 이원의 최소에 나가도록 하지 사원하고 이런 상방 What is the realm of samadhi beyond words and speech, the gateway of birth and death, transcending being and non-being, the origin of heaven and earth, parents, fellow beings, and lost the true nature of all Buddhas, enlightened masters, unenlightened people, and sentient beings, till one manifests as both permanence and impermanence, viewed as permanence, till one unfolds into an infinite world that is ever abiding, spontaneous, just as it is, viewed as impermanence, till one unfolds into infinite worlds through the cycle of formation, duration, decay, and extinction of the universe, and the birth, aging, illness, and death of all beings, according to how we use our minds and bodies in the four forms of birth. We transform through the 6 realms of existence, progressing or regressing, with grace arising from harm or harm from grace. Therefore we unawakened beings vow to practice wholeheartedly, modeling ourselves after Kilwansamba Dharmakaya Buddha, by cultivating our minds and bodies deeply, knowing human affairs and universal principles thoroughly, and using our minds and bodies skillfully, thus progressing rather than regressing, and receiving next 15 minutes, let us pause in samadhi, silent meditation, together.
It's all practice.
We are happy to have Daniel, Anthony, and Jen who are joining this beginner's path by receiving first 10 precepts and their Dharma names. Jen and Anthony, would you please join us offering your dedication prayer and receiving 10 precepts? Let us all stay with a clear, calm mind as Daniel reads his dedication prayer loud and clear.
I, Daniel Mattingly, devote myself to cultivating a new mind, body, and spirit. Please watch over and bless my Dharma path as I follow the threefold practice in a life of gratitude. May my practice stay heartfelt and consistent, regardless of the conditions and changes in my life. I understand that my new Dharma name signifies my rebirth as a sincere Won Buddhist practitioner. As I receive my Dharma name and embody its meaning, I vow to practice again and again with an open mind and heart until I am one with the nature of Il-Wan. Now, with the beginner's mind, I wholeheartedly receive the first 10 precepts.
Do not kill without due cause. Do not steal. Do not commit sexual misconduct. Do not consume intoxicants without due cause. Do not gamble or play idle games. Do not use harsh speech. Do not fight without due cause. Do not embezzle public funds. Do not borrow or lend money between close friends without due cause. Do not smoke tobacco without due cause.
curious for a long time. What is Daniel's Dharma name? Can you guess? Daniel Mattingly, your Dharma name is Taejin. Taejin. And we add one. WontempleNC. Te means great. Jin means progressing, stride. Great strides to the truth of ill one. WontempleNC. Can you say your name? Can you say your name?
WontempleNC.
Can you say his name? WontempleNC. Congratulations.
감사합니다.
Our next two friends' Dharma name. Anthony Gad. WontempleNC. Sa means bright and auspicious. Jin means progress. WontempleNC, auspicious and bright progress. Could you all say Anthony's Dharma name? WontempleNC. Big applause for Anthony. Jennifer Gad. Jennifer's Dharma name is wontempleNC. Je means deliverance. In means kindness and benevolence. wontempleNC means delivering truth with benevolence. Delivering truth with benevolence. wontempleNC. Everybody? wontempleNC. wontempleNC. Big applause to you. Now, our wontempleNC Daniel is going to share his reflection talk on his Dharma journey. Please.
Oh, yes. With pleasure. Good morning. My name is Daniel Mattingly. My Dharma name is WontempleNC, which means great strides of progress toward liberation. 2.5 years ago, some dear friends, Dave and Donna Gulick, invited my wife and me to join them for tea one day with Reverend Wontempel. Since my retirement about a year earlier, I had been doing some meditating and some reading about Buddhist teachings and practices. I was really excited to talk to someone about what I had been learning and experiencing for the past year. Reverend Wontempel was really easy to talk to, and I was delighted to find that she understood and had knowledge and experience with a lot of what I had been studying and working with. She could relate to experiences I'd had, and she shared some things that helped me get a clearer understanding of some things. As we were talking, a remarkable thing happened. I saw for a brief moment with crystal clarity that enlightenment was real and attainable, and I got a brief glimpse of how it can be realized. I remember thinking, wow, this is amazing. And it's so clear. And I remember making a mental note so that I could come back to it later and take a closer look at it. And I was really looking forward to that. But when I tried to recall it later, I could remember having the insight and how clear it was at the time. But I could not remember what it was that I had seen or known. It seemed that whatever it was had disappeared behind a thick fog. At first, I felt perplexed and disappointed and kind of frustrated. Why couldn't I remember something that was so vivid and clear at the time? Well, the answer to this question came from the Tao Te Ching. It talks about how our true nature cannot be known through the six senses. It says that our true nature is not obvious to the mind, but neither is it hidden from the heart. It goes on to say, looking at nothing, all of a sudden, there it is. But the moment we see it, it disappears, leaving only a vague memory. I realized that in that moment of insight and clarity while talking to Reverend WontempleNC, my mind had become focused and the chattering in my mind had quieted down enough to allow a bit of truth that is beyond words and thoughts to enter into my awareness. Since that initial meeting with Reverend WontempleNC, I have received many, many gifts and blessings from this temple community and from spiritual practice. I would like to share just a few of them briefly. A community of friends who are helping me to let go of my lifelong belief that I'm separate and alone, and to experience on a deep level my oneness with others. I'm learning that if I don't judge anyone or anything, I don't suffer. I'm gradually learning to be present with my pain, to not push it away or react to it. Having the support of my Dharma family gives me courage and stamina to hang in there when the pain is intense and it seems like it will never end. I'm learning to have more compassion for others and for myself, and to remember that if we understood all, we would forgive all. I would like to say that receiving a new name today feels like a fresh start. It's an acknowledgement that I have and am continuing to let go of old ways that have caused me to crash and burn countless times. And I feel a new energy, a new spirit, a new aliveness and awareness that is in the process of awakening to my true nature, which is Il-Wan. I've never felt this clear and certain about what I'm doing and the direction that I'm heading. I'm very excited about joining the Kyo-Hwa-Dan, this family of choice with many new sisters and brothers, new to me, that is. I've already enjoyed getting to know some of you and am looking forward to sharing our Dharma journeys and helping and supporting each other. I want to express my deep gratitude to our dear Kyominams, Reverend WontempleNC and Reverend Qi Gong, for all they do so tirelessly and so impeccably, and without whom none of us would be here and none of this would even be possible. Kamsahamnida.
Thank you, Daniel. You know, Daniel, before you have received your Dharma name, you are already fully committed. It's amazing how consistent Daniel has been with his practice. But this day is even more special because he's kind of proclaiming to the community, now I'm really committed. Even though he has been committed, I don't feel shy about what I'm doing. I feel clear with this practice journey. So thank you for your courage and tremendous gratitude to Jen, Anthony, and Daniel, who is alumni of this year, for receiving Dharma name, because your openness, what I value most. From now on, I am even more ready to be guided with great open hearts. So now is Jen and Anthony ready to share their talks.
Hello, my name is Jen Gadd. I am so honored to receive my Dharma name today and to be here virtually this morning to talk with you about my Won Buddhism path thus far. My first exposure to Buddhism was through my husband, Anthony. I remember on our very first date about 20 years ago, he talked with me about mindfulness. I had literally never even heard the term before, but I was very curious. After dating for only a few short weeks, Anthony moved away to go to graduate school. He gave me a book just before he left, Awakening the Buddha Within. I still have this book and it is very special to me. I admit it sat on the shelf for years before I really looked through it. But with that book, 20 years ago, the seed of Buddhism was planted in my heart. It's been an amazing journey since then, a journey which has, in a way, led me back to the beginning. That is how I like to approach things at all times now, with the heart of a beginner's mind. Throughout the process of receiving my Dharma name, multiple people asked me how I felt about it. Always the same feeling comes to the surface, a feeling of being at home with the Won Buddhist community. So I have been thinking about the word home and what it is that makes Won Buddhism feel like such a homecoming to me. When I think about the essence, the feeling of home, I can break it up into two distinct, although related components. One component is the secure feeling of belonging, and the other is that home is a safe place to grow. First, about belonging. I think about the first house that Anthony and I owned. At the time, I thought, finally, after several apartments in different cities, we were now proud homeowners. I had a lot of unrealistic expectations about what that was going to feel like, however. More than a year after our big purchase, I stood in the living room and looked around. It still felt nothing like home to me. Our oldest son, Adam, was just a baby then, and the house needed repairs right from the get-go. I had left my job to become a stay-at-home mom. We were short on cash, and I felt a little bit lost. Where was this magazine-inspired home feeling that I was supposed to have? Thankfully, this was right around the time that I started listening to some audiobooks by American Buddhists like Pema Chodron and Tara Brach. I remember the theme throughout these books was that everything that you needed was already inside yourself. The idea that the external is not where one should look for happiness or for answers. It was an extremely novel way for me to look at life and a new way to look at the world. I was raised Christian Roman Catholic, and it was ingrained in me at that time to look to the external to find spirituality. Raised as a pretty hardy Christian, I downright rejected these very basic Buddhist concepts at first as blasphemy, thinking, how egotistical to think that you don't need God to bestow upon you blessings and or hardship. I looked at these Buddhist books as more psychological self-help at this point, not being able to adopt the concepts yet, but definitely benefiting from and marking this time as the beginning of my meditation journey. This early experience with Buddhism helped me understand that there was a spiritual home out there somewhere for me, even if it was going to be a struggle for me to shift the fundamental way that I view the world. So for the next 15 years or so, I navigated through multiple non-denominational Christian churches in both Madison and also here in Chapel Hill. While less dogmatic, I found that as a whole, these churches still sought spirituality in the external. And I continued to read about Buddhism and irregularly meditated. In 2019, I attended a half-day retreat at the One Temple here in Chapel Hill, and shortly after, I attended the One Buddhist intro class. I knew I had found my home. I felt like I finally found a place that was in line with both my inquisitive and often rebellious mind. The idea that in Buddhism, you are not given a list of things that you need to believe, but instead you can experience wisdom in the Sangha, in the Dharma, in the interconnectedness of it all. I finally feel like I belong. The other component of the essence of home, as I mentioned in the beginning of my talk, is the feeling of being in a safe place to grow. My very favorite children's song, and one I shared many times with all three of my boys while in their preschool years, is about a boy who asks his mother if he is growing. She tells him yes, he's growing when he eats and sleeps, etc. But he has his doubts, and throughout the song, he keeps wondering about it. Then one day, he's able to reach the tap in the sink, and it is confirmation to him that he must be growing. I love that song because it really explains in a way how I have grown through Buddhism. About 6 weeks ago, I had to have major surgery. I was extremely anxious, among other things, about being put under general anesthesia for the first time. The morning of my surgery, however, I felt quite calm. With a gentle and kind support of my kids and my husband, Anthony, I was able to be present with my feelings, be mindful of my thoughts, and I felt shockingly calm. I was like the little boy in the song. I was finally able to reach the sink. It is through experiences such as this when I realized that I am growing as a Won Buddhist practitioner. I am becoming more mindful and I am becoming more patient. The Won Buddhist community has and continues to help me to grow and become the best version of myself. I so appreciate you taking the time to listen to my Won Buddhist journey so far. And I hope that you know how important you are to our Won Buddhist community wherever you may be on your spiritual path. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Anthony, and I've been practicing at the Won Buddhist Temple in Chapel Hill for about 6 years now, and I'm thrilled to be joining as a member of the Kyoaidan. For me, this has been a long path, and it started, as it has for many, in the search for happiness. I grew up outside of Chicago, inundated with messages of scarcity from a father who grew up in relative poverty in a small town in the Philippines. I was taught the importance of hard work, but there was a clear prioritization of material well-being over mental well-being. And at the same time, I was bombarded with societal messages that the path to happiness was only possible by first obtaining financial wealth. But even though doubts lingered in my mind, this delusion helped to shape my early career. And I ended up going to a university in Boston to earn a degree in finance. And after graduating, moved down to South Florida. I figured lots of people retire to Florida. Why wait until then? During my first job interview in Florida, in what may have been a message from the universe, it turned out that the interviewer was a former high school student of my father's from the Chicago area. And by the way, I've never met another former student before or after that time. Even with this connection, though, this interview did not go well. And the interviewer told me that he was not going to hire me for the job because I did not answer the core question correctly. And that core question was, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And he explained that the correct answer is to be rich. So even 1,300 so miles away, I could not escape my father's belief system. Anyway, this did not resonate with me and left me feeling that I did not belong in that career path. And on top of that, during my time in Florida, I encountered many people who had wealth but were clearly still suffering. Dealing with a sense of groundlessness that comes with questioning dominant culture norms and suffering from the many young adult dramas, I began my path toward Buddhism by stumbling across a book on Tibetan Buddhism in a bookstore. And for my 8-year-old twin sons, this was during an ancient time when you couldn't just go online to buy an ebook. Learning about the teachings of the Buddha and the path of the Bodhisattva inspired me to make a relatively radical change. I quit my fledgling career in finance and joined the Peace Corps. And when I came back to the States, I went to a graduate school for public policy. After that, I moved to Wisconsin and followed a life path of marriage, house, children, and my nonprofit career in public policy. And while I value the work I've done within the public policy space, I've recently analyzed the underlying motivation for much of this work and come to the realization that the correct answer for many in this field of where do you see yourself in 5 years is with power. I've noticed that many people strive for positional power, often with organizations struggling to attain institutional power so that they can influence those with political power. The underlying intention of helping others exists, but the mechanisms to do so are often fraught with egocentric grasping, sometimes indifferent to community power building, often unhealthy for their own individual well-being, and possibly antithetical to Buddhist principles. Perhaps not surprisingly, I've come across lots of people with power who are also still suffering. And during my years working in Wisconsin, my intellectual understanding of Buddhism and my passion for social justice both continued to grow. But my meditation and mindfulness practices really did not. It really wasn't until moving to North Carolina 6 years ago and stumbling upon the Won Buddhist Temple in Chapel Hill that my practice became less cognitive and more emotional and behavioral. It is at this time that I came to realize the importance of finding a Buddhist teacher who inspires you. And Reverend Gong has been a consistent model of how to live one's values. And I realized the importance of having a Sangha or Dharma community to practice with, especially when online. And just as important, the critical need to develop my actions and my mind through awareness, insights, and gratitude. The founding master said, everyone wants things that are beneficial, but does many more things that lead to harm. Everyone wants to be wealthy and noble, but does many more things that lead to poverty and degradation. Everyone wants to be praised, but does many more things that lead to ridicule. There are so many cases in which what one wishes in one's mind and what one practices with one's body do not correspond. This is all because they do not realize the root source of suffering and happiness, and because even if they do know it, they do not put it into practice. You must think deeply about the causes, discriminate clearly, and practice thoroughly so that what you wish and what you do are never in contradiction. Then all things will be achieved according to your wishes. My external and internal experiences and practices have led me to a core belief that the key to happiness is not riches, it's not power, but instead to letting go of both, and perhaps to letting go of the search for happiness as well. By taking a Won Buddhist name, learning and practicing, and being part of this community of practitioners, I hope that I can answer the question, where do you see yourself in 5 years with, at the temple, sitting on a cushion, mindfully aware, and grateful for every lesson that I've learned along the way. Kamsahamnida.
Such an inspiring talks. I think the favorite part of our naming ceremony is listening to these stories each year. And now we are going to offer a song that we traditionally in Korea, we sing this song all the time whenever somebody is receiving Dharma name. Lara will introduce the meaning of the song first.
Expresses the idea of self-transformation. I was lost on a dark road, a road of suffering. Then I entered this Dharma path with sublime joy. Until my body becomes that of a bodhisattva and a Buddha, may I only move forward and not regress on this path. I devote my body and mind wholeheartedly to the community and to the world. From now on, steadfastly turning the Dharma wheel, may I requite the great benevolence of the Fourfold Grace.
That was so beautiful.
Heartfelt congratulations, Daniel, Wan De Jin, Jennifer, Wan Jae-in, Anthony, Wan So-jin. Congratulations on receiving your Dharma names today and for entering a new phase of your life and spiritual journeys. When I received my Dharma name, I did not fully realize that it was more than just a poetic symbolism and good wishes. Since then, I have come to deeply appreciate that a person's Dharma name can be a powerful guide on their spiritual path. Mine has been one for me, and I hope yours and yours will become ones for you. So, many blessings to you three. May your lives and journeys unfold with brightness and clarity. Friends at home and here in the Dharma Hall, if you are interested in learning more about receiving a Dharma name, and you've been consistently practicing here for at least a year, please contact Reverend Wangol, Reverend Young. They'll be glad to talk with you about that. And so today we're going to finish our service by doing something that at first might seem very familiar, but we're going to turn it into meditation. So whether you are at home or in the Dharma Hall, we will begin by connecting our mind and bodies to be slowly, carefully breathing, moving together in a very peaceful way. So I have a bell, and when I ring it, we're going to very slowly move and breathe from our danjan, and very mindfully and intentionally put away chairs, mats, chanting books, computers, whatever you used to participate in this morning's service. In this moving meditation, we're going to focus on our breathing, step by step, feeling the weight of what's in your hand and placing it down. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. We look forward to seeing you next Sunday.
As one upon the path. We met before years ago, like this. Our deep Dharma bond goes back 3,000 years. This is the reunion we have been longing for. Now, we sit beside each other without words. Do you not feel this joy, this joy? It springs to us from years ago. It springs to us from years ago. 아니던가 오래 두고 그러던 이루 만남 두다 무슨 일고 말없이 마주 앉은 정이 삼천여로 you